That's a good question. I think the good thing about this film, what I want the film to be, is that there's a lot of ways to interpret the film. It doesn't necessarily have one theme or at least one specific theme. I think the first thing is trying to make a story that is engaging, and that is, of course, a specific story, but that then can be interpreted many ways. It seems that a lot of people are getting different themes and stuff out of the film. So I don't mean to be too coy about what it's about, but it's I wanted it to be up to the audience what it tries to talk about. Yeah. How I came up with the idea, I always, or for a long time, I had the idea for a person or a man in a dog costume, but I didn't really have the story for it. And then I tried to think about what type of person would own a person in a dog costume, and it couldn't be like a working class person. It would have to be somebody with a lot of resources in a way to, make their own space, and so it had to be somebody who had a lot of money and wealth and a lot of time. So that's how we came up with it being a millionaire. And then when I wanted to talk about or think about millionaires in films, the first thing that came up was 50 Shades of Grey, and I thought that was not to talk bad about that film, but the character of Christian Grey is a questionable character, but then they try to turn him into something, you try to sympathize, but I don't think a lot of the audience, I don't know if the film earns that in a way, and I think maybe it's sometimes hard for people to sympathize with the millionaire. So we try to do like an inverse of Christian Grey, which is also the reason why the main character is called Christian Grey. It's like a little nod to 50 Shades of Grey. So those two components was kind of the start of the whole idea around the film. I try not to have too many references, but you can't help but have, you are always influenced by things. I think, this story is in many ways, we try to keep it grounded, but it's kind of like a unbelievable story. It's something that a lot of people, it's a weird story, and I think Lars von Trier, he talked about when making Breaking the Waves, the story was kind of unbelievable. It was, so you want to ground it with a kind of documentarian style, and we try to do the same, have a more of a natural documentarian style, handheld, to ground the story and make it seem as realistic as possible. Yeah, so that's when making the independent films, there's always, what makes it hard is the lack of resources. Of course, you can't make a film about you probably can't make a fantasy film. At least you have to be very creative. You can't have CGI or dragons and stuff like that. You're kind of limited in the type of violence you can have when it comes to blood and gore and that kind of stuff. Not necessarily in my case that was a limitation, but and the scope. You can't have too many people both in front of and behind camera. But the great thing about making independent film is that you're allowed to tackle any topic that you want. I think if we try to pitch this to investors, and especially in Norway, is you get a lot of public funding to make a film, and they probably want something more safe. I don't think they would, fund a project like this. But I think now that people see that a story like this works, it in hindsight is easier to kind of sell the film. But I think at first when I told people about the film, it seemed very niche. So I think the great thing about independent films, you get to make films that wouldn't get made otherwise. When it comes to the ending, I think I am very bad at remembering like my process, so I don't really know, what the first draft of my script looked like compared to my last draft. But I'm not sure if the total ending. It was supposed to always end the way it ended, but I'm not sure if the last shot was always the plan. But it was always gonna have this more of a, not to spoil too much, but a downer of an ending. But I'm not sure if it was exactly that, but something like that was always the destination for the film. Yeah. When you're making a film, you try to have a when you first start making your film, writing the script and try to get actors and stuff, you're kind of just happy that the film even gets made. So you're not really thinking too much about if it goes viral or not. But what I really liked about Good Boy and the story was that it was something that I was always eager to tell people about when I had tell the story or the plot to people. I loved pitching the film because it always got a reaction out of people. So I was surprised when it got as viral as it did, but I always had a feeling it had potential to garner some attention on the internet. Yes. Right now we're in post-production on a film called Above the Knee, which I written and directed. It's about a person who has BID, body integrity dysphoria, which means that he wants to be disabled. In his case, he wants to get rid of his left leg above his left knee. That's why above the knee. So it's about him wanting to amputate his own leg, in short, which is, I guess, in kind of the same vein as Good Boy, a psychological thriller. So hopefully that will come out and start its festival run next year. My favorite horror movie? It's hard to say what the kind constitutes as horror these days. What I love about horror is it can be so many things, but I am kind of tempted to say Funny Games, if that counts as a horror. If not, then Alien would also be. Those two are kind of. Funny Games is kind of what inspired this film in many ways. I think that is kind of apparent, and then Alien is kind of what got me into filmmaking. So yeah.
That's all.
Thank you.